kill him, how does Eirich know that it's almost winter?
Because of how cold everyone is around her.
Snow already came.
I knew it would be Jon Snow related.
Hello, welcome to day 8 of the 2023 Genesis Adventures on the Advent Calendar. We're here with Game of Thrones. And we're here with Season 5, Episode 5, which is called Kill the Boy. Last time we had Sons of the Harpy. So, yeah. The last image we had was Barristan dying. In a back alley by a bunch of thugs. Apart from that, there was some good stuff in the last episode.
There was good stuff in it in that episode. Just shame about the ending. I'm shame the ending was pretty bad.
Yep. Based on that, what is your anticipations for Kill the Boy?
Oh god, I don't know now. Kill the Boy, I'm expecting maybe something though last episode the ending is something major happening. Like it's one of the not a big character, but it's a relatively recognizable figure dying. So I imagine there'll be fallout from Marine with all the Sons of Harpy attacks. Hopefully that will get good, but it probably won't. Probably more of Tyrion and Mormont, Probably more of them, Jorah and him back and forth as they make their way to Marine themselves. Yeah, and then the Wall continues to be the best part about this season so far, really. So that will continue.
The
most
Wall
likely.
And, it's the Wall and Cersei's part of King's Landing.
Those are the best part about this season so far. I'm expecting those to continue to be on a relatively consistent path going forward.
All right then. Well, after this episode, we'll be halfway through season 5. Feels weird, doesn't it?
Yeah, it feels really strange because, in all honesty, not a lot has happened. And it feels weird to say within a Game of Thrones season.
Yeah.
We've had Mace Raider dying. We've had, the death from last episode. We've had that's two pretty big, not like big, but those are significant deaths. They should be. But it still feels like this season hasn't really got going at all.
Well, the irony of that is, the irony of that is, in the books, when Mance Rayder dies, he doesn't actually die, and Barristan doesn't die.
Yeah.
So they've added those in.
Yeah, but only one of those deaths actually, even within the context of the show, still had good stuff around it. One of the other though was fucking lame.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, you've also got Dawn at the moment. We got introduced to a couple of people who had inklings of being cringe, and they killed Scorpio Sky surrounded by scorpions, which was kind of the highlight of the episode, really. That's pretty much all my thoughts right now. I guess we'll have to see what's next on our Game of Thrones adventure.
All right then. Well, the full-length reaction is on Patreon if anyone wants to watch that. And with that said, shall we start Kill the Boy?
I guess we shall.
Mr. Brian Cogman has done this one.
Yep, he survived somehow. He's the one that lived. The plot armor is very thick.
Unfortunately, his groin is not.
Yeah, that's actually something we didn't really talk about. Is that I only briefly talked about how he probably also should have died.
No, you're crazy. I had nothing to do with this. You're crazy.
It would have been better if he just didn't say that and then they just grabbed him.
It's making his style look like really stupid.
Yeah, but I'm the leader of my family. What do you mean, Daenerys? Just have him be grabbed. Make us realize, oh yeah, he's a leader of his family. You don't have to blurt out every fucking detail so that we can follow along. Serves up.
She didn't even ask him any questions.
No.
She's just gone full psychopath. I mean, maybe if she had some kind of proof that that guy was aligned with the Harpy.
We didn't let... I don't know anything about that person.
That, Mr. Raymond.
A Targaryen, alone in the world. It's a terrible thing. Kill the boy, Jon Snow. Winter is almost upon us. Kill the boy. And let the man be born.
The only interesting character at the moment. Other than Cersei.
We got our own to worry about. Less enemies for us.
Fewer. What?
Whatever they are now, they're better than that.
I've got nothing to say really right now. This is all just good stuff. This is a really good conflict to have.
That's right.
For him. And it's not fucking spoon-fed to me.
No, it's not.
Will there be anything else you need, Lord Commander?
So Jon is a politician after all. Anyway. What's Mr. Podrick up to?
Better off with the Boltons, who murdered her mother and brother.
I still don't understand why Littlefinger sent her there. It doesn't make sense.
It's in danger even if she doesn't realise it.
Oh no, she knows. She should know anyway. She's with the Boltons.
Well, she literally cried before being sent there.
Yeah.
Who do you serve?
Come back here.
That was good. That was a nice little scene.
Miranda.
Saw you staring at her.
I'm
Oh
not
no,
blind, yeah.
I'm jealous.
That will involve looking.
Do you think she's pretty?
Of course I do. I'm not blind.
Very kinky.
Just a couple of freaks. But you know, probably to the extreme.
The broken tower. But who? You're not alone.
The Northern Embers.
That guy did get the message.
Mm. Where
We've been
it
here.
all started. Just gonna be like. Some chickens or something. I don't know.
I know what it is.
I know you know. Oh my gosh, she's gone. Oh yeah, Reek. Oh boy. Remember when you betrayed our family?
You smell particularly ripe this evening. Pour me some wine. I forgive you.
Okay, no.
Allow me.
Bloody hell.
I'm so nice in person.
Mother?
Thank you, Ramsay.
Duh. Oh god.
She's so naive.
So nice in public.
To your wedding.
To your wedding.
What he did. Don't worry. The North remembers. I
Just like
punished
I
him.
said.
What with him having murdered your brothers and the rest of your family gone, Reek here
Jesus
is the
Christ.
nearest thing to living kin that you have left. You will give away the bride.
Fucking hell.
Someone has to. What better person? Good? Good?
Yes, yes, very good. Waldo and I have some good news as well. Since we're all together.
We're going to have a baby.
Oh no.
I'm very happy for you.
From the way she's carrying, Maester Walken says it looks like a boy.
Oh, what excellent news! Did you hear that, Ramsay?
Mm-hmm.
I hope you heard it well.
How can you be sure
Sure of what?
that she's pregnant? I mean, how can you tell?
Oh my god! Not like Ramsay is above fat shaming.
How did you manage it?
Manage what?
Getting her pregnant,
I imagine you're familiar with the procedure.
of course. But how did you find it?
You disgraced yourself at dinner.
Mm-hmm.
You've never asked me about your mother. Apparently they'd married without my knowledge or consent. So I had him hanged. And I took her beneath the tree where he was swaying. She fought me the whole time. She was lucky
Fucking
I didn't
hell.
hang her too.
Fucking hell, you were just an awful person.
Stannis Baratheon has an army at Castle Black. But he won't stay for long. He wants the Iron Throne. But the North is ours. It's yours and mine. Will you help me defeat him?
Yes.
Very North heavy episode.
Keep reading, Samuel Tarly.
Damn, that was good.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tough road ahead, Your Grace. Won't they be safer?
Here? Half these watchmen are killers and rapists. No, they march with us.
Still a power struggle.
Yep.
Stannis is very much on the Red Woman's side these days.
First things first, there's a long march ahead. And then we have to take the castle.
Is there going to be a battle?
Aye, Princess. You won't be anywhere
There's
near...
enough talk of battles, Sir Davos. We'll scare the child.
Like you fucking care. Like you care for a second.
When the battle comes, promise you'll protect me.
I promise.
Their interactions are always good. Off they go.
And in order to forge a lasting bond with the Merenese people, I will marry the leader of an ancient family. Thankfully, a suitor is already on his knees.
Okay.
More weddings.
One scene, and I realised, oh, I'm wrong. Actually, I shouldn't have done what I did.
Oh, she's so just bipolar, isn't she?
Don't worry. I'll be fine. Nothing broken, I don't think.
Anyway, time for brotherly fun.
People who drink need to keep drinking. Otherwise, they're not.
He's saying he's an alcoholic. The
I don't
loudest
think
away.
you didn't even need to. You didn't even need to be like that. Because if I'm not,
A city of 1,000 years, and all that men had learned. The doom consumed it all alike. And neither of them turned.
I would clap.
I mean, you can.
Not well, though.
Oh my god! Well, what's that down there? What is that? Who is that? Pirates. Oh my god.
Don't let them touch you!
Oh. Oh, Jesus. Oh, he survived. Oh, okay. Where the fuck are they now?
Heavier than you look.
Saying that Tyrion's very dense.
But how did he though? Fucking hell, that's a fucking long swim. That's really fucking far to get him onto land. Uh-oh. Oh no, at least there were some consequences.
Your initial thoughts of Kill the Boy?
Well, it was a very, very north-heavy episode.
There was no King's Landing.
No King's Landing, which is very much a rarity. And no Bravos, and no Dawn. Yeah, I thought that everything in the north, I thought was relatively strong. To a certain extent, I think the Boltons were pretty darn strong this episode. I thought everything at the Wall was really strong. And I really liked the stuff with Stannis and Samuel Tar. I thought that scene was pretty good. And the last, everything in Marine, again, was very Marine, to be honest. You know, same as ever.
I like how that's a word you could use. It's very Marine.
Yeah, it is. And then the ending was quite strange. Not sure how Tyrion survived that. Well, he could survive it. It's just they didn't show it. And then they had to swim all the way to land. Overall, I thought it was decent as an episode. I think what really saved it was everything in the north was pretty strong.
Yeah, there's quite a few things to get into. I think there's certainly ironic. It's no pun intended. There's certainly cracks to this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Much like there is in Jorah's Rest.
Yep. Oh dear.
Yeah. It was definitely important to have Shireen in this episode before that happened. You know, to sort of set that up. But yeah, there's things I really liked about this. There's also things I really don't like about it. This is kind of a typical season 5 episode, to be honest. Very mixed. But you're right in saying that there is a lot of quality in the north, as there usually is. So let's sort of dive into it. We'll start with some of the bad stuff. I want you to talk about. I want you to talk about Grey Worm surviving that attack last episode. They were in an alley with Barristan and the Sons of the Harpy, and Grey Worm got stabbed. He got stabbed in the side of his body.
He did, yes.
and he was lying there for a while before he was found, and then apparently
we didn't even know how long it was. So.
Apparently, ancient medicine and marine that the maesters can do is enough to cure him after 3 days of sleep.
I don't know if he should be alive.
I'm not sure either.
It's very strange. I just feel like he should have died anyway within the fight, given the circumstances. He was stabbed in the side, and he passed out, seemingly, at the end of the episode. I don't know how long it took them to find him and then to heal him to a certain extent, and then 3 days later he's still pretty weak. Yeah, I don't know if he should survive. He could, but yeah, it's very strange.
They have him wake up and sort of explain that his fear was not of dying, it was because of love, right? It was because he's fallen for Sunday.
Which is, their relationship has been very even like C plot to a certain extent. And it's very simple. It is just very simple. And yeah, I don't really have that much other comment on it. I think there have been good moments throughout their interactions, especially I think in episode 2. But yeah, I don't have much thought into their relationship other than it's just pretty simple. And it's fine.
My favorite interaction for them and their relationship is season 4, episode 8.
Mm-hmm.
That's when he sees her naked in the river.
Yes.
And he apologizes to her, and then she says that she was actually glad that he saw her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought outside of the questionable how did Graham survive, I think it was okay. It was fine. But yeah, let's talk about the Daenerys part, because this is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
She takes the masters of the Meredith houses and burns one of them that happens to be most likely innocent.
Maybe you're innocent, maybe you're not. I don't know.
Definitely ruling through fear.
What was the point of that? What was the point of that?
And then within one episode, she goes, "You know what? You were wrong. We should reopen the fighting pits to bring it together."
After one conversation with my Sunday.
Yes, my Sunday fell on the floor.
My Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Like, what the fuck did she, I can't remember. What was it that she specifically said to her? She said something
she said that sometimes you can think of answers that your advisors can't, or along those lines.
What? Open the pits. Let them fight in the fighting pits. Let the tradition. What? What?
Yeah.
Oh. Why is this so simple and so shit?
Yeah. Why does Daenerys have like insane bipolar?
It's just like I don't get it. I don't get what they're going for.
She literally burns an innocent man.
Burns a very possible innocent person, and maybe he is innocent, maybe he's not.
I just want to clarify to that though. Obviously, they all own slaves, but I'm talking in the context of the Harpy. There's no evidence that he's aligned with the Harpy.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and then okay, I'll let the fighting pits go. We won't have slaves. What an absolute brown. I can't even talk. What a groundbreaking idea, Daenerys. Not something that I was that. Surely that's something that someone would have suggested. You know, you don't have to have. The whole thing is not having slaves, but we can keep up the tradition.
You know
and cleanse it.
You know what's great about Hizdar Zolarak in the books is that he's not completely pathetic and useless, and he's actually a really powerful member of Amerini's house. And her choosing to marry him and reopen the fighting pits is a tactical decision as opposed to a realization.
Oh.
Which makes far more sense than what we got here.
But next they have him on his knee begging, I don't want to die.
He's so pathetic.
I don't want to die. He's so fucking pathetic. Remember last season where he had a really good scene?
Yeah.
I remember he had one really good scene and he was really well done. And,
he's good in season 4.
Now he's sort of just like, I'm pathetic person. Punish me.
Yeah, see, because what I love about
Please don't kill me.
What I love about when she goes to Meereen in the books is that she's a 13-year-old who is very clearly people are trying to overpower her, not only with their age but also with their influence and their power over certain territories. And with Hizdahr zo Loraq being a sort of a monarch figure within Meereen, it is within her best interest to marry him and align with him and consider his beliefs and traditions, even if they contradict her own beliefs, because from a pragmatic point of view, it means that she can unionize Meereen and rather than cause it to, further drip into chaos, which is one of the reasons why her alignment with Hizdahr in the books works, as opposed to here where he's imprisoned, is a coward, fears death, and she just releases him because Missandei has a conversation with her about things after she burns an innocent guy who had nothing to do with the Harpy, ruling through fear. It's just a fucking mess. It's a disaster. This felt like her burning that person was just like, I need someone to pay for Barristan's death. I don't care who it is.
Burn them. Burn them with one of my dragons. And rip them apart. Just fucking... What a weird way to start the episode that was.
Yeah.
Wasn't expecting... I just didn't think that's how we were going to start the episode.
Well, it was.
Yeah, it's just lame. Everything Meereen, as always, is lame.
Yeah, and we've lost Barristan, so we're losing even more of the good stuff.
Thankfully, my suitor is already on his knees.
I suppose if I were to give a silver lining, they actually did emphasize that her advisors all have different takes, which is what you should be doing. Dari Naharis actually has an opinion on what to do with the Wise Masters. He wants to go for the Chaos play. But no, it's just...
Yeah.
It's rubbish. It's really rubbish. The character is insane. I think I noticed there's a lot of people that when they try to justify season 8, they go to this episode. But I'm like, no, but this didn't make sense either. This was also bad.
This was shit here. This is also bad.
Yeah.
I don't feel like this is like put them in prison, sure. Sure. And discuss what to do now after the massive attack that happened in the city and killed a bunch of people and the Unsullied. But no, let's be sadistic and burn one, and then be like, maybe he was innocent, maybe not. Ugh, it's just, come on.
Yep. Anything else about Meereen?
No. No.
We'll talk about Dany's dragon later. That's at the end. So let's go. Let's talk about something good. Let's talk about Samwell Tarly. He had quite a bit to do in this one.
A lot of reading. He's doing a lot of reading at the moment, trying to figure out how to properly fight the the White Walkers. And Stannis had a really good scene with him. It's really actually really good.
Yep, he that was a fantastic scene talking about how he's reading about Dragonglass, and it's relevant because Stannis has, he witnessed Dragonglass on Dragonstone, so there's a link there. Obsidian.
Yeah, that's something that is useful.
And he wants to know why it's able to kill White Walkers.
Yes, maybe that will be something we discover at some point.
Yeah. I really like the acting from John Bradley and Stephen Delane in that scene because Sam was very much in fear of the king, and he mentioned something about, my brother went to war with your father. And there's a multi-layered thing here because Sam obviously doesn't like his father. He fears him because his father is abusive. But then also he's scared of what Stannis is going to say next, because he's like, well, my brother fought your family, therefore we're not aligned. We're against each other. But then, of course, Stannis turned it around and complimented his father and said, actually, it was the one time Robert lost a battle. And I told my brother he'd gone too far west, but he never listened to me, as always. That was a really good little bit of development for his connection with his brother, I've always wanted to see like a short prequel series of the Baratheon brothers. I think their dynamic would be really interesting. I mean, we saw bits of it with Renly Baratheon. He had scenes with both Robert and Stannis, but I've always wanted to see what the dynamic was like with the three of them.
Absolutely, yeah, really good stuff. I thought that scene was very, very strong.
Of course, and he had that scene with Gilly where she's like, "Is this every book in the world?" And then he had to explain the Citadel of Old Town is where the biggest library is. He's like, "I'm sorry, I don't know things." She's like apologizing for not knowing things that he knows.
Well, my interpretation of that was her being just a bit like, Sam, like I don't know things. Like, I'm gonna ask questions.
Yeah.
You don't have to make fun of me.
Yeah. Then he's like, Gilly, you know how to light fires with wet wood. I don't know how to do that.
Swipe the floors. Basically be a maid.
Yep. I think that's sort of like an offset of his upbringing, because Randall Tarly is very traditional and he's very misogynist. And so Samuel Tarly's growing up with a father who doesn't believe that women deserve
by
freedom.
Proxy,
Yeah. And he doesn't intend to be, misogynist, but that's just all he knows. And he's like, well, you're good at doing things that girls do. Yeah, but I really liked Samuel's scenes in this episode. I thought he did very well.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I very much enjoyed it.
This was also a huge episode for Jon Snow. The first scene he had...
Oh, yes.
First scene he had was with Maester Aemon. 100 years old and freezing to death. At the edge of the world, Jon Snow killed a boy and let the man be born. I love that quote. He didn't even need to hear what Jon's decision was going to be. He said, "But you already know. You just need to become a man and actually go forward with the decision." Now, I loved that scene with Maester Aemon. It set Jon in motion for the rest of the episode, having to make these hard decisions. Like what, Davos Seaworth said before, Jon doesn't want to be a politician, but now that he's Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, he has to be. He has to divide people, because it's the only way to get done what needs to be done, which in this case is, the White Walkers. The Army of the Dead. And as you can imagine, as you've seen, there's a lot of people at the Wall that detest the Wildlings. Said, we've defended the Wall against the Wildlings for thousands of years. What makes you change your mind now? I especially liked the scene with Jon and Ollie as well. Ollie obviously saw his parents butchered.
Ollie has a very much reasonable reasons to not be happy with these decisions.
Yeah. And he's not being friendly with him, Is there anything else you need, Lord Commander? He's not giving him the full thoughts.
He's very angry about this.
Yeah. And he's just a kid, And then, of course, Jon released Tormund Giantsbane from his chains. And they plan to go to Hardhome, which is on a peninsula in the north, beyond the Wall. And I loved that bit where Tormund said, "If I'm going, then you're going too," because they need to hear from the Lord Commander himself.
Yep, absolutely, yeah.
Which is a massive risk. It's a massive risk, but Jon has to do it.
Without the watch, the Wall without its Lord Commander.
That's correct.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to that future interaction and what their journey will be in the remainder of the season.
That's correct. Of course, Stannis now, he has been kind enough to offer his ship to Jon.
Yeah, he has actually, yeah.
Yeah, which is a slightly different version of what happens in the books, because in the books the Iron Bank get involved much later. Stannis is already at the wall before the Iron Bank happens, and basically there is a, I can say that there's like a deal between the North and the Iron Bank about how to handle the kind of fleet situation. Whereas here, because Stannis has already been to the Iron Bank, he decides to, loan Jon his ships because it's within his best interest to have as many wildlings south of the wall to be on his side. So it's a slightly different version, but I still think it works in a way. It's much riskier for Stannis, but he realizes it's the only real way he's going to get them south of the wall. He says before he leaves the wall, he says, "I need those ships back." You can see there is a sense of pressure on Stannis right now. There's a sense of desperation, like this is it, really. Like there can't be any mistakes going forward, otherwise we're fucked.
Yeah, I just think in general the conflict right now that Jon is facing is it's very interesting. Like you said, he's basically a politician, just when it comes to everything that's happening in the North and the Wall.
That's right.
Yeah, it's very good stuff.
It was the interaction between Davos, Shireen, and Selyse on the horse, where Shireen says, "Is there going to be a battle?" She says, "You're gonna fight the poor girl." Of course, Davos says, "If it comes to it, promise you'll protect me." I love that.
Yeah, very fun. Very, very, very adorable.
You know what's the biggest shame about this is that version of the Stannis theme that plays when they leave is not released. It's an unreleased song. You can only hear it in the episode. It's like a really great version of it. I also really like how even Edison Tillett is questioning Jon, and he's one of his friends. He's saying, "I'll follow you wherever you go, but they killed Gren, they killed Pip. They killed 50 men. That does not go forgotten." Even the people that are his friends are questioning Jon's decision making here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and naturally, that would happen.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, Jon is making a very controversial decision as Lord Commander here. That's upsetting a lot of people. You also have to consider the fact that Jon is going to be, if he's going to Hardhome, he's going to be going away from the wall for a bit, it's leaving Castle Black with a huge hole in it without the Lord Commander there. Very interesting situation they're in.
Yes, a lot of really interesting ways now going forward of stuff to do with the wall and Jon. Very much setting up for what is to come in the rest of the season.
Yeah.
I imagine near the end there'll be a big confrontation, possibly, about joining forces and putting aside their war together.
I do also. There was a couple of details I really liked as well. I liked when Maester Aemon said, something about a Targaryen being alone in the world. That was a very good line.
Yeah.
And then also,
it's a very interesting line.
The other detail I really liked is when they left. The Red Woman eyed up Jon again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll let you sort of close out the thoughts on the stuff at the wall.
Yeah, I thought everything at the wall, again, like it has been for the whole season so far, it's very strong stuff. It's having Jon face so many conflicts in a position that he originally probably didn't want to be like a loved leader in that sense, but naturally, because of who he is as a person, people will gravitate towards him like that. And I'm really liking what they've done so far this season with him, and now this conflict of him having to make this decision to work with the wildlings and it being met with very much mixed feelings with everybody involved with the wall is, I thought all that stuff was very good stuff, and I'm looking forward to his interactions with other wildlings again now that he is Lord Commander.
Yeah, it should be very interesting, especially now that Mance Rayder is dead.
Yes, that is also a big factor along with that.
Yep, alright, let's move on to Winterfell. we have a scene with Podrick Payne and Brienne of Tarth in a little shanty town, little tower somewhere near Winterfell. And Brienne very adamantly convinces a man working there to send a message to Sansa Stark. Very much reaffirming her oath to Catelyn.
Yeah, that scene was really good with her. I thought that actually was a really, really solid like dialogue scene for her, and sort of what she's at the moment, and what, you know, her oath means to her, and what she'll do to protect Sansa.
Especially because of how many times she's failed before, she doesn't want to fail this one.
Exactly. Yeah. She's determined to not fail this time, considering what happened to both Renly and the Starks.
And when you consider that Brienne met Sansa in that inn, you could suspect that maybe Sansa thinks someone's looking out for me, maybe it's her. When she finds out about that woman, when she says, light a candle. Possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sansa has a guardian angel outside the walls of Winterfell.
Yes, that will, I imagine, be a factor going forward.
Though interestingly, who's currently marching south towards Winterfell? Stannis Baratheon.
They're on their way, and there will be a battle in this whole area. So
and
that is on the horizon.
Brienne is very close by.
Yes.
Now let's talk about what happens inside the walls of Winterfell. There was quite a lot, actually. This is probably the most
it's sort of this episode pretty much from like that scene, and then till like with like 15 minutes to go, it was all inside Winterfell.
Yeah, this is probably the most bold.
We did not move away from Winterfell until all of that was done, pretty much.
Yeah. There was this is possibly,
which I thought was pretty good.
Probably the most Bolton heavy episode we've ever had. Oh,
definitely. We got a lot on, you know, Roose Bolton. We got a lot of him in one particular scene. Ramsay, very heavily featured Ramsay, and then we got the reuniting of Sansa and Reek / Theon Greyjoy. First time since he murdered Sansa's brothers and betrayed the Starks.
Yeah. So sort
all
of
that history.
Let's sort of break down, because there's a lot of detail here. So we have Miranda's jealousy of Sansa, because she knows that she's going to marry Ramsay. They have
She's crazy.
They have a very kinky sex scene.
Yeah, because they're fucking psychos. It's not the regular freak of the world. They're fucking insane.
They also look like pale ghosts in that scene.
Yeah, exactly. I noticed in that scene that they are very pale.
It was quite
which
gothic,
sort of
actually.
heightens the... Yeah, it was, because they're quite... obviously, like, they're very cold-blooded people. So, like, not only thematically does it fit, it's also just, the visual of them being so pale in Winterfell is, like...
Yeah.
Really represents, like, how fucking, like, out of touch they are. In terms of, like... they're just so fucking crazy.
Their romance is very toxic as well.
But it's like this is the kind of psycho level that is mostly realistic. It's not like a Jared Leto Joker or a Sacha Dhawan Master where they're just fucking insane for the sake of it and just do crazy things with no real reason. Ramsay understands when to act relatively normal, but it slipped in this episode because of what he was trying to do and try to poke at both Reek and Sansa, which was all really well done. It was a really well done scene. Then you get the announcement that Roose Bolton has gotten his new wife pregnant and possibly will be a boy, which very much annoyed Ramsay.
I just love it how Ramsay put on this whole display of Reek being a slave and apologizing to Sansa for killing her brothers, which he actually didn't do. He faked it. He killed the farmers' boys.
Exactly, yeah.
And that was all in vain because immediately after, Roose Bolton completely shit on all of it by announcing that Walder's gonna have a boy. It's just like Ramsay's entire thing just got squashed immediately. It's almost like Roose Bolton knew it as well. He knew that he was just gonna embarrass his son immediately after that. And Walder is so naive, she just doesn't even see what's happening. She's just so... She's like, thank you, Ramsay. Almost like she thinks that he actually loves his stepmother.
Yeah. It's just, very fun. It's very funny.
Yeah. Miranda obviously has that scene with Sansa by the tower that Bran fell from.
Yes, that was a very cool visual of seeing that again.
Tries to get close to her and Sansa is not a fan.
Oh no, she can't help but look insane, really.
Yep. Sansa goes to where all the hounds are kept, and Reek is willingly lying in one of those cells that is open. You're not supposed to be here.
Yeah, very much being set up.
We also get that scene with Reek and Ramsay where Reek thinks that Ramsay's going to torture him, but then he just holds his hand. So it's actually more like psychological power as opposed to physical torture.
Yeah, this all this stuff was really well done, and there was a lot of really great character moments between characters that I really enjoyed. And the final scene in Winterfell was very, very good. Of Roose Bolton describing how he, made Ramsay was like very much an indication of like, just remember, this guy is like awful. He's a really bad person.
Yep, he's a psychopath.
And and then the sort of conversation about Stannis being on his way to Winterfell and that there will be a fight, and him asking, will you help? And he said yes. There's very much now we know where we're gonna head. I'd imagine later on in this season there is going to be an end of season fight between Stannis and the Boltons, which I am actually looking forward to seeing what will happen next.
I quite like this scene because Roose Bolton was very much reaffirming to his son, just remember, I own you.
You are my son.
Yeah. It actually had quite an interesting parallel with Tywin and Tyrion, that scene. He's like, I wanted to throw you in the river, but I looked in your eyes and I saw that you're my son. It's very similar to that scene with Tywin Lannister in season 3, where he said, I wanted to watch the waves wash over you, but I let you live because you're a Lannister. I think what makes Roose Bolton even scarier than Ramsay is that he doesn't have any craziness to him. He just thinks it's normal.
Yep, pretty much.
He speaks of it very matter of fact.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think that Robb Stark was aligned with this guy.
Yeah, he was. Oh god.
And now he has married and impregnated one of Walder Frey's daughters. And if it's a boy, then it'll have more of a legitimate claim to Winterfell than Ramsay.
Yes.
So yeah, apart from the fact that this just even further makes Littlefinger look ridiculous for sending Sansa there, this was quite good. That's like the one thing that's really terrible about this storyline is the fact that Littlefinger sent Sansa there willingly. Like, it's actually ridiculous. Because the more it's unfolding, the more ridiculous it seems. Like, oh, of course he would know this would all happen. Ramsay also got quite a few edgy jokes in this too. Like, it's like, how did you know she was pregnant? How could you tell? How did you find it? It's like, Jesus Christ, man.
I thought it was just very, very strong, which was a very nice big feature of the episode. Yeah. I think that's, it very much felt like the North especially was a big focus of this episode, and I very much appreciate that.
Most of the stuff at the Wall and Winterfell was pretty good.
Oh yes.
Unfortunately, we have to go back to the East again.
Yeah, just briefly though. Just to end things off.
Yeah, with Tyrion and Jorah, I have a lot to say about this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you already pointed out the issue with the distance between Valeria and that beachside.
Mm-hmm. How did he save him? He was sinking, getting dragged down. How on earth did he save him?
So, okay, this is going to take a while, but I'm going to give you a little rewind to the start of the season and the start of Book 5, so I can sort of outline to you where all this Tyrion stuff has gone strange. So to sort of give you an overview, not details, but an overview of what happens in A Dance of Dragons up to this point. Tyrion arrives in Pentos. He sees Illyrio Mopatis there, not Varys. Varys has sent him there, but he's not there. Illyrio talks about the Mummer's Dragon, which is what he talked about with Varys in Season 1. And he has tasked him to board... Well, I guess he takes him a bit on some ship or whatever it's called, like a small ship, across... Because if you know the geography of Essos, there is a big water line that runs all the way through it. So it starts at around where Pentos is, and it crosses near the Dothraki Sea, goes all the way down the Sorrows, and then to Volantis at the south end, which is west of Slaver's Bay. They arrive at a place where two people he's never seemingly seen with blue hair are there, and they go by the names Griff and Young Griff. And Tyrion has to board a ship with them and a guy called Holden Halfmaester. They call him Halfmaester for context reasons. I won't get into why, but that's his name. And before they get to, Volantis and the town before it called Selhorys, which is where Jorah Mormont finds him, in that brothel, they go through a place called the Sorrows, which is where they find the Stone Men. And you just remember, this is not across an entire section of ocean. This is a river. So this is like a really narrow river that's going down the middle of Essos. And in the Sorrows, they pass the Stone Men because they have to. And the character named Griff, the older one, is the one that has to save Tyrion from being drowned by a stone man, and it is the one that gets grayscale. It's not Jorah Mormont. In that scene, it's kind of... everything is sort of revealed as to who these two people are. Griff is a knight named John Connington from a place called Griffin's Roost, because the griffin animal is kind of like the sigil of that house. And John Connington was a friend of Rhaegar Targaryen. And young Griff, the young man he's with, is a boy who they claim his name is Aegon Targaryen. They claim that he is the son of Elia Martell and Rhaegar Targaryen. Obviously, in the stories you've been told, Rhaegar left Elia to be with Lyanna Stark, but they claim that this boy is the son of Rhaegar, therefore the heir to the Iron Throne. Whether or not that's true is up in the air, and given the fact that Varys and Illyrio are heavily involved in it, it begs the question of what is the real truth behind it. The theory a lot of fans have is based on something that Illyrio spoke of before he got to the Griffs about a sort of splinter family called the Blackfires, who are like an illegitimate Targaryen sort of, I guess you could say they're an illegitimate Targaryen side of their family, but they're not part of the actual lineage. And so people theorize that Varys wants to upset the Targaryens by using this boy who is part of the Blackfire lineage. That all has yet to be confirmed whether or not. But the more important thing relative to this episode is that because geographically, this is before they get to Volantis. This is actually in the middle of Essos, and they're in a river. The traveling time it takes for Connington to save Tyrion is actually very small, because it's not an ocean, it's a river. And then, after that, at Selhorus is where Jorah Mormont finds him, takes him to Volantis, and then they sail to Marine area, sort of the Slavers Bay area, with Penny. But because they decided to go Volantis before the Bowmen, they've instead changed it into, instead of the Sorrows, they are at Old Valyria, the ruins of Old Valyria, which is where the Targaryens come from. The speculation is that the reason why Drogon is there is because he's sort of, the dragon is going back to where the dragons came from, I guess, is the idea. But I'll give you a few reasons why this doesn't work. Firstly, as you explained, the amount of time it takes to go from Valyria to the south of Essos at that beachside is much longer to swim, which makes it far less likely for Jorah Mormont to do that. The other problem is a massive world-building issue, and this was something that was set up in that scene with Stannis and his daughter. I want to ask you a question, Callum. Let's see if you can figure this out. Why is Valyrian steel so rare, and why is it so expensive?
Because from what I remember, it's like it can cut through almost anything, really.
But what's the other reason?
I'm not sure I would remember why.
Because you can't forge it.
Oh yeah, yes, they can't. That's why it's rare.
And why can't you forge it? Because you can't go to the place where Valyrian steel comes from.
Yeah.
Except what do Jorah Mormont and Tyrion do in this episode? They go to the place where it comes from. Because in the books, Valyria can't go there. It's a literal firing ruin. It is a cosmic natural disaster to the point where no one could survive going there.
Right.
So, if anyone were to go to Valyria, here, you saw what Jorah and Tyrion did. The only real threat is the Stonemen, which, why are they there? So why don't more people have Valyrian steel?
Oh, I don't.
Also, why did Jorah Mormont think it was a good idea to sail through that place?
They lost their boat because of it and nearly died, and now he's been infected.
See, because the difference is that when Jon Connington sails through the Sorrows, you have to go through there. Because it's the only way the water travels in the river. You have to travel south through it to get to Volantis. So this completely fucks up the whole reason Valyrian steel is rare. And, yeah, it's really stupid. Now, there was some very good acting, especially from Ian Glenn. His reactions to everything were really well done. But I think by recontextualizing this and having the grayscale scene happen after and having it happen to Jorah Mormont, having it happen in Valyria instead of the Sorrows doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't work. And the only reason they've done this is because they've completely removed Jon Connington and young Griff from the story. Let me also state that because they've removed Jon Connington and young Griff, it's also why they've removed the other Targaryen children. Sorry, not Targaryen, the Martell children. So Arianne Martell, for example, is supposed to be part of that storyline in the books, but they removed her as well. This whole thing has fucked a lot of things up, and the replacement that they decided to do has also fucked a lot of things up. Yeah, so it's just one great big mess.
Yeah, Tyrion surviving that and being saved is fucking quite crazy, considering he was getting dragged down to the point where he passed out and didn't get touched, but Mormont did, and oh yeah, that's it's just so strange. And then they somehow made it to shore while escaping them somehow, but losing their boat. Yeah, it's all very strange.
Yep. Well, I mean, I've given you the explanation why that's happened, but they just haven't. They haven't done the work to actually make this version make sense. They've just copy and pasted stuff and not cared about the consequences of changing things, which seems to be a common issue with Dave and Dan around this time. It's the same thing, like I said, at the season 4 finale, how they've copy and pasted the fact that Tyrion crossbow shoots Tywin on the toilet after self-defense killing Shay. But the issue is that the characters are so different in the show, so that C doesn't work.
Yeah.
So whenever from this point on or this point before in the show you hear characters say Valyrian steel is rare and cannot be made again, they're full of shit, because it actually can, because they could just go to where they went. And all they have to do is just avoid stone men, and they'll be fine. Like, when you talk about old Valyria in the books, you're talking about like a tornado of fire in the sea. It's like an insane natural disaster event that is never ending. It's a bit like a sort of, you think about in sci-fi how they have exploding stars and whatnot, and they explode for like thousands of years. It's a bit like that, but in the ocean. Yeah. Whereas here, it just kind of looked like an old ruin in a swamp. And also another thing that makes the scene where the Stone Men appear at the Sorrow so good in the books is that is the moment when Tyrion realizes who Jon Connington and young Griff are. And so because he's figuring all that out while they're being attacked, it makes the pressure of the scene a lot more interesting. So yeah, it's just a clusterfuck of things that don't work and have ramifications that damage the show. And like what makes sense about the world building and whatnot. Like, let's not forget, Valyrian steel nearly killed Bran and Catelyn in the first season. The whole reason why the conflict in season 1 exists is because, and Mauler has explained this before, is because Catelyn takes the knife after surviving that attack and realizes it's Valyrian steel. Because it's Valyrian steel, she suspects it's the Lannisters, because only the Lannisters could afford to have that kind of steel. And in the books, it's confirmed that it was Joffrey that sent that knife. Whereas they don't really confirm that in the show. It's left up in the air.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the last episode where Stannis tells his daughter about old Valyria with the Stone Men, and then further on to seeing it in this episode has really fucked up the whole point of Valyrian steel, which is a major part of the show. It's a major part of the story. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. I mean, people will say, oh, it's written by Brian Cogman, but I'm like, yeah, but it has to go through the showrunners to happen, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And if I'm going to be completely honest, I feel like the scenes in the East were written by Dave and Dan anyway. I just get vibes.
They have the same vibe of it, yeah.
I just get vibes that they wrote the scenes in Meereen and Valyria. Whereas the stuff at the Wall and in Winterfell felt very Brian Cogman to me, just based on what I've seen of his writing. It was very character-focused. Kill the Boy was received positively. Mike Hogan says that the creative team just keeps cranking up the tension. Joshua Yell says the season reaches its midway point with refreshed plot lines and a rare moment of fantasy beauty. I mean, I will say that they did make Valyria look nice.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that scene with Drogon, actually? I asked you about
that. The one him flying over Tyrion and Mormont.
Yep.
Yeah. I guess the point of that scene was to make Tyrion believe that the dragons are real. I guess that was the real point of it. I don't really see other than that the real motivation behind it.
Well, Tyrion has always said
that's why.
Tyrion's always said he's wanted to see a dragon, and now he's finally seen one.
Yeah, he's seen one. I wonder if they'll talk about it at some point, because they probably should.
Well, yeah, because Mormont has seen Drogon before many times.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's all. I think in concept this scene could be very cool. It's just the rest of the scene was pretty shit.
Yeah. Christopher Orr called the episode superb and described it as crisply written, directed, and performed. There was a lot of crisp stuff, wasn't there? It was quite crisp. Nice word to use.
Yeah.
I think it was the costume design and the prosthetics of the Stoneman was quite well realized, I'd say. They definitely looked convincing to me. By Brian Cogman. He is known for his character-focused stuff, but I have to say I think this season has been that way anyway, for the most part. Been very character-focused for the most part. For better or worse, some things have been not very good and some things have been quite good. The direction was by Jeremy Podeswa. I thought he did a pretty darn good job, honestly, for the most part.
Yeah, I think the direction was actually really good this episode. Very good.
Yeah, looked very nice.
Did indeed.
The East.
Yeah, shame about that. But yeah, that's been the theme this season.
Yeah. I thought he did a really good job, like, with the blocking of the scene in the Winterfell dinner table. I thought he did a really good job at the blocking of that. I will say, the season is suffering from its budgeting from lighting, but I have mentioned before that when we get to season 6, they do increase the budget of the lighting and the framing,
yes.
so there is going to be a bit of an upgrade there. But I did notice in that scene in the Winterfell dinner table, it was quite dark in the faces.
It was, yeah.
Although the exterior shots looked great.
Yeah, they did. They actually did, yeah, very much so. They were very lovely.
Of course, the music was by Ramin Javadi.
Yes, it was indeed.
He played the Kill the Boy theme again during that scene with Aemon. That was a really, really good touch. And I loved that rendition of Stannis' theme as they left Winterfell. That was fantastic.
Yeah, excellent stuff.
Yep. Music overall was real good this episode. So, we have a couple of tracks to listen to. The first track is called I'm Sorry for Today, which is the theme of Grey Worm and Missandei. Very lovely.
Yeah, very nice.
Very fitting of those characters.
Yes, definitely. Would say so.
Kind of represents the
very soothing and very emotional.
There is a sadness to their romance, for sure.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's the sort of idea of it, is there, so because of her upbringing and his upbringing being so tragic and them relating to each other in that way, it's very well suited, this song, to that, because there's an element of tragedy to it, an element of like sadness, but going through that is their romance, which I think is something that, while I obviously said this review, it's simple and it's relatively fine. I think that this song does boost it in terms of like, yeah, it's very, very simple story that is very tragic, but trying to be uplifting in, you know, Daenerys' quest to make the world better. Obviously the writing is sort of laying her down as a character, but yeah, I think this song is very well suited to what they are going for.
Musically, the ideas are definitely there.
Yes, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Right. Our second track, get this, our second track is from the Season 7 soundtrack.
Oh no.
This is the first time we've touched this album. We've touched all the other ones so far. This is the first time we've touched Season 7, sort of the forbidden season. The track we're going to be listening to is very fitting, though, because it was relevant to this episode. It is called Dragon Glass. It's nice to know that even in Season 7 the music's great.
Yeah, that song is like, there's like, even just listening to stuff from like seasons 1 and 2, there's such a, and those tracks are all really, really good. That song is quite the like step up in terms of like orchestra, you know? It feels a lot more like there's real emotion behind it in terms of like the use of strings.
Mm-hmm.
I really felt that track in particular was like there's a lot more meaning behind it in a way. You know, I get, even if we'll eventually get to it. You know, we're a season and a half away from it. But I very much felt like the, you know, build up of the world and the story, you know, in a strange way with that track.
Yeah, there's a lot to get into as 4 minutes, but
Yes,
I think the standout bit for me is at the very end, that rendition of the Stark theme. It gave me goosebumps.
Yes, I did notice that as at the end. I felt like, yeah, this, and that's the thing with the Stark theme. It's because it's a part of characters that I guess, well, they're the characters that we and the show is trying to get across, that these are the main, even though there's a lot of main characters from different families, the Starks are always the ones that are like, they are the ones we sympathize the most with in a lot of ways. And they're the real fundamental core in terms of the characters we follow.
Mm-hmm.
And I always felt when they do renditions of the Stark theme in different ways, like there's a lot more history to it, you know, in terms of what we've seen and what we've experienced. You know, like in season 1 with Ned, season 3, you know, the Reigns of Castamere, and all that. You know, there's a real history to it. Whenever it gets like in this episode we saw today, when Sansa is looking at the tower and you hear the Stark theme, there's, you know, and we see the tower and we know as an audience, you know, what's happened here. You get a real sense of like where it all started, when it really all started.
Yeah, it's filmed at the same angle as well.
Yeah.
But it's covered in snow now because of winter.
Yeah.
Because remember when Bran fell, it was grass. There was no snow at all. But yeah, I loved the sort of journey of the song. It started out with the sort of the realization of Dragonglass's importance to the story. Then you have the tragedy of the state of the world that they're in. Then you have a bit that is sort of very reminiscent of the White Walkers and their threat. Their sort of untenable, you know, the untenable idea of how to handle that threat. And then, of course, it ends with the Stark theme as well. And it's very wintry by this point. I mean, you can see on the album cover, you got the Night King and there's snow surrounding him. So yeah, that's very much, you know, that's very much down the line at season 7, but it's relevant to this episode because Dragonglass is a big talking point in this episode.
Yes.
So yeah, I think Raymond Javadi has... So. It's also crazy because we've gone from a song from season 4 and season 7 this episode. Raymond Javadi has so much range, and as you said, as the show progresses, while there's with more content that sort of develops the story, he adds more content to his music that further represents all of the things that have happened. There's more to write from, which adds more complexity to the music itself. So yeah, hats off. Hats off. He's a very, very talented composer. So obviously in the novel, Daenerys did not intimidate the head of each Marine family. Instead, she took hostages, children from each of the noble families, to serve as her cupbearers. She also demanded blood money from each family for each of her followers or soldiers killed by the Sons of the Harpy. She incidentally never threw Hizdahr in jail, although Sir Barristan did later. That makes way more sense for her character, doesn't it? Allowing innocent children to serve under her supervision, not being oppressed by slave masters, demands blood money for each family, for each of her followers killed by the Sons of the Harpy. That's so much more Daenerys in my eyes than what we got in this episode.
Oh yeah. It'd be hard not to.
Yeah, there's a lot more missions in the books for Jon. Funnily enough, Hardhome is actually not one of them. They hear, you know, distress calls from Hardhome, from the wildlings that are there, and it is mentioned, but they actually do a lot of other stuff. There's a wildling named Val a blonde wildling that is cut from the show. She appears in Mount Raider's first scene, the one that's in the tent in the books, and there is a whole subplot in Jon's story where the thought is, could he unite the wildlings and the Night's Watch if he was to marry Vel, which is also against the code, because it's, I shall have no, marry no wife or whatever. So he would be suggesting breaking even more vows, but the idea is sort of to unite by any means necessary. And marriage would be one of them. Sort of a trust to prove his loyalty. There's also a lot more development of the side sort of characters, adult characters, for the Night's Watch, like Cotter Pike and Bowen Marsh. They get, and Othel Yarwick, like they do get a few small lines at the table, when Jon pitches the wildling unity to them, but they're far more developed characters in the books, and it adds a lot more dimension to this whole conflict as opposed to just Jon's pitch versus their rebuttal. Sansa also never sees Theon because she is still in the Vale, but Jane Poole does.
Yes.
And he immediately recognizes her but remains silent in order to protect her, because of course Jane Poole is being advertised as Arya Stark when she isn't. In the book, Shireen, Selyse were left at Castle Black along with a dozen knights and guards and Melisandre. So in this version, he has taken them with him. Obviously, Davos Seaworth isn't even there in the books. He's at White Harbour, and eventually goes off to Skargos, which I'll talk about in later episodes. Stannis does not take his wife and daughter with him. Neither does he take the Red Woman either. He goes his knights, and I'll talk about in more detail what he does in the books in later episodes because it becomes relevant later. The idea, obviously, with White Harbour is there's a family called the Manderleys who are also cut from the show. I believe because they didn't have enough time to showcase them in seasons 1 and 2. Which is a shame, because Wyman Manderley is one of the best characters in the North. But the idea that Stannis has is that White Harbour is south of Winterfell, so they could attack from both sides. Oh yes, Samwell Tarly mentioned the Children of the Forest in this episode, which we saw at the end of Season 4 with Bran.
Yeah, we did.
It's mentioned that they use Dragonglass to fight their battles. This is only the 4th episode in the entire series where King's Landing does not appear at all. The previous 3 were The King's Road from Season 1, The Reigns of Castamere from Season 3, and The Watchers on the Wall from Season 4. According to the Blu-ray commentary, the main table in Winterfell's Great Hall was spun around into the opposite position from where it was last seen, to signify the change in ownership from the Starks to the Boltons. If you look closely, the Boltons did at least smash the faces of every direwolf statue or edifice. They've also greatly expanded the sets at Winterfell compared to seasons 1 and 2, you may have noticed. It's not just a courtyard and a feast hall and one interior bedroom that can be redressed. So they've added more places within the complex. Staircases, corridors, bedrooms, etc. Dam argues that there is plenty of land and the wildlings can settle on the gift. The territory immediately south of the wall ruled by the Night's Watch, so now Jon Snow has been elected. He is technically under rule of both the wall and the gift. As Bowen Marsh points out, most of the villages in the gift were deserted over the generations because of wildling attacks. And during that episode, Mira Reed pointed out that the gift had a lot of good farmland, but no one was living there. Obviously, earlier that season, or not earlier that season, but later in season 4 in the gift, we saw the wildlings attack Ollie's family. They were very close to the wall.
Yes.
Stannis mutters under his breath, "Viewer," to correct the complaint that if the wildlings die, there'll be less of them to fight. This is a callback to Stannis corrected Davos in season 2's Garden of Bones. Davos said that without the fingertips cut off, and he'd at least have 4 less fingernails, and Stannis insisted fewer. He's a stickler for the rules in all things, including proper grammar. Interesting detail. There's a scene back in season 2, I think it might be season 2 episode 7, where Quaithe has a conversation with Jorah and Karth about Valyria being dangerous. And she's painting symbols on a sailor's back which are alleged to ward off demons. I don't think Quaithe has scenes with Jorah in the books because it's Daenerys' POV. We only see the scenes she has with her. So, viewership. Last time was 6.82 and the highest ever was episode 1, which got 8.0. This time, episode 5 of season 5, 6.56, so it's gone down again. This is very unusual, isn't it? Unusual for this show. The viewership seems to be going down and down with each episode. Do you think maybe some people rage quit after Barristan's death?
I imagine that a lot of people are gonna be very pissed off with that, and possibly decide, you know what, no. But I don't know if that's enough to make people tune out, I guess.
Give your conclusion and rating out of 10 for Kill the Boy.
I thought this was relatively strong. Thought everything to do with the North was very strong. Thought really good stuff. Really good stuff there. Erin Marino wasn't great, and the ending was pretty pissed. So I'd probably say I'll probably give this a 7 out of 10, just though, because I think the North was very, very, very strong.
Oh, so your favourite of season 5 so far?
In terms of what I really liked from the North and the amount of time that was spent in the North, yes. Because I think like the Bolton stuff I thought was like, I feel that's what I needed from them this season. That kind of stuff. And then I think everything on the Wall was really good. I think the conflict there is, again, my favourite part of the season so far, so that's not too surprising.
Yeah. I suppose you could argue that this episode's slightly more consistent than High Sparrow.
Yes, because Marine is only like 8 minutes, and then if I remember, no, it's probably actually longer than that. It's probably like, yeah, it's probably like 11 minutes, and then the ending was like 8. So half an hour of this episode was very strong. So
okay, yeah. So I somewhat echo your statements. I still think the North is missing a few things, and I still think this episode makes Littlefinger look even more stupid day by day.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But the stuff at Winterfell was pretty damn good for the most part, and the stuff at the Wall was really good for the most part. It is missing a few elements that I really like, but the stuff they are doing and including is quite good, and that is the bulk of this episode, so that does help it in its favor a lot. That being said, the stuff with Daenerys and Meereen was absolutely ridiculous. It was unbelievably just crap, and the stuff in Valyria was a massive blunder. Doesn't make sense. It has some good acting and, you know, a slightly different turn with Jorah gaining grayscale instead of John Connington, but I still think the implications of it is enough for me to really despise the changes. I think, I'm gonna give this a 6.5 out of 10. I think as a book reader, this bothers me more than it bothers you, because I think what is missing and what happens in the version of events that I think is the superior version of the story for the east side of things when it comes to Meereen and with Tyrion's story is so much better than this, and it's the contrast between them is very upsetting. But yeah, I will give credit where it's due. The stuff at the Wall and Winterfell was really strong, and you possibly argue Ramsay is getting a little too crazy for his own good, but the reason why it's happening in character is actually really well worked, and there is a lot of justification for why this version of Ramsay is the way he is, and it's not just crazy for the sake of it. He's more of a character than other crazies that we've mentioned earlier in the video. And so yeah, that does definitely work in its favor, even if it makes Littlefinger look ridiculously stupid for doing so. And the stuff with Brienne and Podrick was good too. That was well done.
Yes.
So yeah, I'll give this a 6.5 out of 10, one of the decent episodes of Season 5, along with High Sparrow, which was also really good too.
Yeah,
I think...
So, like, yeah.
I don't think this had as many standout scenes as High Sparrow, but it didn't fall as far.
No, I don't think so. Yeah. I would say that right now, pretty much the average for the season, I guess, halfway through is around a 5, which is pretty disappointing.
Well, it's very mixed. It's got a lot of good stuff and a lot of bad stuff.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of it's hovering just above like around the 6 mark for me, and then there's been like 1 or 2 like really bad episodes.
The first 2 episodes were dog shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's now evening out to around like a 5, so it's kind of average right now, which is not really what this show should be at.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I say the first 2 episodes are dog shit, but some of the stuff at the Wall and King's Landing was quite good in it. Apart from but the rest of it was really, really messy. Yeah. So 6.5 for this one. Still not quite on the level I feel like the show should be at, but it's enduring. You know, there is enough good here to chew on. Will the next episode carry this somewhat passable momentum that we've had for the last 3 episodes with a few issues? Next episode, we start the second half of the season with episode 6, which is called Unbowed, Unbent, Unbroken.
Ooh.
This, if you have been paying close attention, there is a scene in season 1 with Bran, Theon, and Maester Luwin where they go through the phrases of each house. Bran is learning the phrases of each house in Westeros. The phrase that represents the Martells in Dawn is Unbowed, Unbent, Unbroken.
Right.
So the next episode is going to feature Dawn.
Oh, goody. Goody.
Right, so your anticipations for Unbowed,
I think it's going to
Unbent,
feature
Unbroken.
Dawn a lot. Yeah. I guess that will probably be my expectation in terms of significant moments from the next episode. I imagine we will probably now get a couple of episodes where the North is not as significant, I'd say. I think King's Landing, and with the fact that King's Landing and Dawn weren't in this episode whatsoever, I imagine they're going to now be highlighted probably a bit more over probably the next 2 episodes, because then by that time I imagine we will then get the fight between the Boltons and Stannis near the end of the season. So that's sort of my expectation right now, and I imagine Marine is just sort of going to continue to be Marine, and eventually Tyrion and Mormont will arrive in Marine probably by the last episode of the season, maybe. I don't know. Depends if they drag it out, which they absolutely could. Yeah, that's sort of my expectations right now for where we're heading. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're sort of halfway through the season. Jon has to go to Hardhome to see those wildlings. Stannis is going south to Winterfell. Ramsay is betrothed to Sansa Stark. Roose Bolton is also preparing for Stannis' arrival. Brienne is still maintaining her position of protecting Sansa from a distance, giving her some space, some boundaries. So Marjorie has called for her grandmother to come to King's Landing after Loras Tyrell has been imprisoned by the Faith Militant. Tommen has advised Cersei to go back to Casterly Rock. Will she listen? Probably not. Cersei has armed a High Sparrow. And in the east, Daenerys is a fucking lunatic. And Tyrion and Jorah are making their way to Slaver's Bay. Daenerys will reopen the fighting pits, apparently. What we've learned. And Jaime and Bronn are making their way to the Water Gardens to rescue his niece/daughter, depending on what you believe. And Arya, I forgot about Arya. Arya's in Braavos. And in Braavos, Mace Tyrell is going there to meet with the Iron Bank and is taking Meryn Trant with him. Now that we're halfway through the season, sort of your brief thoughts on how the first half has gone and your anticipation for the second half.
Well, I sort of, I guess, hinted at what I think Winterfell's heading, I think, towards the end of the season. I think that's probably going to be a big factor by the end. But yeah, and I think the North overall is starting to head towards the eventual battle with the White Walkers, because now they're trying to build trust with each other and try to build alliances back up after thousands of years of fighting. And King's Landing is in a very interesting place with Cersei effectively running things, you know, and yeah, I find that very interesting in terms of her character. Again, everything Marine is very basic and basically done badly. It's very, very annoying and frustrating. Just every decision they're making right now. Yeah, it's been a very strange first half to a season, because there have been really bad things, but there's also been things that have been very, very good. And yeah, it's been quite, like I said, this just averages out to about 5 out of 10 right now, which is a bit frustrating.
Yeah, it's a weird combination of George Martin's books and Dave and Dan's original material, and it's just this kind of clusterfuck, to be honest. This is a very, very strange season so far. We'll have to see how the second half goes. So yeah, we will see you next time for Unbowed, Unbent, Unbroken. I bid you adieu, a good night, and a goodbye. Bang.